Let's go ahead and grab a ball of clay, something that fits inside the palm of your hand, smaller than a baseball, bigger than a bouncy ball, something that I usually have on me because I love bouncy balls. So something that's good to fit right inside your palm. And first things first, let's go ahead and find our feet on the floor. Right now, just put the ball of clay without any movement in your hands. And find a moment of stillness. Your feet planted on the floor, whether you want to sit or stand. And take a deep breath in, filling your belly with air. And release. This is a great time if you want to find just a neutral place to focus your eyes. If you want to blink your eyes closed, we're going to take another deep breath right down from our feet, up through the earth into our legs. Let the air fill your belly. And another breath, and this time let that breath travel all the way up, past your heart, into your throat, and your busy, busy mind. Let it take a moment to calm and slide down into your hands. Feel the weight of the clay in your hands, the coldness, the texture. Maybe it's a little moist. And start to roll the clay around in your hands. Feel the weight of it. Most of us probably have about a pound or less. Experience what that is. And go ahead and we're going to take our thumb and we're going to start to tunnel. We're going to start to press gently into the clay. And we're not trying to move all the clay at once. If we do, we're going to notice big cracks. We're going to work with small, repetitive movements. So rotate the ball of clay, and we're going to tunnel in just a little bit deeper. And rotate and press into the clay. Feeling the clay as it comes up and gathers away from your thumb as you tunnel into the form. And you want to aim towards your palm. We're constantly supporting the clay. Our hands are working in tandem, and we want to make sure that there's always a support against what we press. We'll talk more about that as we go through. As you tunnel in, you want to get to about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch away from your palm. Whether we have a hand building practice or maybe a wheel practice, we're constantly seeing with our eyes working with clay. And so the more that you can rely on what your hands tell you for the thickness of the clay and the form, the depth, the more that you'll be able to improve whether you're working on the table or whether you're working on the wheel. And now we're going to take our fingertips and our thumb, and we're going to pinch our fingers and press our thumb and fingers together along the wall of the clay. And we're going to work in one full rotation around one equinox of the clay. And we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to press and rotate, press and rotate. And again, now our support has changed and we're supporting with our fingers and our thumb against the wall of the clay. And you may find that you have more action with your thumb or maybe more action with your fingertips. And that's just going to depend on how you do it. So as we walk up the wall of the clay, again, we want to make sure that we're considering those small repetitive movements. If you try to push and squeeze the clay, you're going to end up cracking it and spreading it apart. You can get your pot amazingly thin. As many of us may be familiar with our dear friend Bets's pots, she can create the most delicate, thin, pinched pots, but it takes time, right? And it takes going back and continuing to press open the clay and working it to what the clay can move at that time. So continue to walk up the clay, letting your fingers and thumb come together. And I want you at this point to switch hands and move the clay into your opposite hand. And go ahead and repeat that same action, walking up the clay, squeezing along and pinching, rotating and squeezing as you go up. And at some point, go ahead and if you haven't already, either removed your focus of your eyes on the clay or blink your eyes closed. And after you've made a few rotations, go ahead and walk along the clay with your finger and thumb without any pressing. Don't squeeze. See if you can find a place where your finger and thumb have already touched. See if you can find those grooves where they already met. See if you can find a thick spot or maybe a spot where you squeezed a lot and you have a little bit of a thin spot. And then continue to squeeze out the clay, pinching and pressing.